Sports can bring you more. You are watching Super TV, Open View, channel 150.
Hello and welcome to Mosports. Have you ever had your faith tested on a Monday? Figure 17, things are going well. People are asking you where are the emails, where are the spreadsheets, where'd you put this and where'd you put that? At that time, you're working from home. That's when you should go on your phone, go on Facebook, search for Super TV. Once you find us, then stream Mosports live. Get a little bit of the stress out of your life, out of the tension out of your life. Obi knows.
Yeah.
Are you okay?
I'm good. How are you?
It's Monday. Monday is never okay, hey?
Why?
I feel like Monday also shows up as a surprise. Yesterday I woke up and I thought it was Monday. I passed. I was on my way to work. And then I was like, ish.
But you're
Sunday.
still coming to work anyway. But
No.
I'm just saying, my Mondays are Fridays, so I know exactly when it's a Monday.
Yeah, but your Saturday and Sunday are Thursday and Tuesday, so this
Yeah.
is technically Thursday.
Technically Thursday, yeah, I guess you could say that.
Well, we have a jam-packed show today. I mean, there's a lot coming up, and don't forget that while we're going through all these festivities, don't forget to SMS Super TV to 30978. But who knows, what should the people expect on today's show already? It's a Monday, we are joyful, we are jiggy with it.
Well,
What's
you
happening?
know, on a Monday, we do the most by taking a look at what the newspapers have been saying. There are a couple of headlines that we're going to be taking a look at throughout the world of sports. A few transfer rumors that are also going on currently in the PSL and in the EPL. We'll also be having a deep conversation when it comes to injuries with a special guest later on in the show. And of course, we're going to kick it off firstly, starting off with the news.
Yeah, in the world of football, there's always news. But let's kick it off and talk about what took place last night. Now, most of the Africans didn't quite know what was going on. I have evidence of that. I mean, I was watching the Cosafa Cup final with my mom. She was like, why is this game starting with penalties? Because we jumped in when it was still extra time. She's like, why is this game jumping straight to penalties? What trophy is this? Who are these players? Which Bafana Bafana is this? Who's the coach of Bafana Bafana? But yesterday, Obi knows, Bafana Bafana came out trumps in the Cosafa Cup final. The sad part was that me and Obi knows made a bet that they would win it in 90 minutes. They went on to penalties, and that meant that we lost out on our bet. But we were right about the eventual winners anyway.
Look, I did say that if they lose this, it would be a huge disappointment for the nation, you know. But to be honest, the nation also blue-ticked Bafana Bafana with this one. No one was responding like you are saying, you know. No one was really giving support to the boys. We didn't see quite a lot of, you know, social media trends. Only after the final took place and, you know, the trophy was handed over did we see Cosafa 2021 trending on Twitter, you know. And I had a back and forth with an individual on Twitter. It's something I don't really do a lot, you know. I don't do back and forth on Twitter. But we're talking about how they were giving props to Helman Mkhitaryan for the win. And I just wanted to put it across that it wasn't, you know, Helman Mkhitaryan who led the team. It was Morana Ramareboli who led the team, you know, from the start of the Cosafa tournament to the last, you know. And of course, it's not disrespect to Helman Mkhitaryan. Of course, he couldn't, you know, be part of this tournament due to COVID reasons, you know. So they had to do what they had to do, and they did very well. I mean, winning the tournament was something I expected them to do, especially with the quality that was in the squad.
Isn't it scary that a team that was a guest in this tournament almost won it? I mean, imagine pancake.
Yeah, I mean, like it just shows you the quality of football around, you know, the southern region.
Yeah.
You know, the southern region just of Africa. I mean, you don't hear a lot, especially when it's the African Cup of Nations and, you know, the big tournaments. You don't hear a lot from teams in the southern region. We're always talking about how African football is dominated by the northern side of Africa, you know, the Francophone countries. They're the ones that are dominating African football. So I do think that, you know, with the Cosafa Cup, we saw a bit more of that. We saw a bit of, you know, Senegal trying to dominate this tournament. But I did say that when it comes to this tournament, most of these players are playing in their local leagues in their countries. So Bafana Bafana, you know, have a lot of players in the PSL coming from the NFD as well. I thought we had the best we had more quality majority out of all the teams in the tournament. So I did really expect us to win this tournament.
Yeah, it was scary though. The guests didn't actually push us all the way. I mean, 0-0 all the way till the penalties had to take place. And then Velimoto, the man we were writing home about, because not only did he save a Penyenye, he also took a Penyenye, put in the back of the net, and then he faced the goalkeeper eye to eye. Yeah. And the Senegalese goalkeeper couldn't put in the back of the net, which meant that we came out trumps and the champions of Cosafa Cup. So what an eventful weekend. I mean, first of all, Chiefs letting us down, but Pito making us happy at the same time. It was a bittersweet result because you don't know whether to cry with Chiefs or celebrate with Pito. Then the Cosafa Cup comes and we win it, and we don't know quite sure.
We're all celebrating.
And people, so that's kind of like, is it a real truth? You know what I mean? That's the mutual celebration. But let's talk about Florentino Perez. I know a lot of you tuned in because you read the description on YouTube. You're like, Florentino Perez, what's going on there? But let's talk about it. Obi knows, apparently there's been some leaks about what Florentino Perez has been saying about specific players over the years. So let's start off. Am I reading this right? Because I'm not quite sure if I'm reading this right. It says, Ronaldo is an idiot.
Yeah, that's what Florentino Perez has been saying, right? About quite a lot of players, some big players as well in the history of Real Madrid. And he started off by talking about Iker Casillas. And this is what he had to say about Casillas. He says, Casillas is not a Real Madrid standard goalkeeper. What can I say? He's not and never has been. He has been a big failure of ours. The problem is people adore him, love him, talk to him, they defend him so much. He's one of the biggest frauds, and the other is Raul. The two biggest frauds are first Raul and second Casillas. So clearly Florentino Perez, so I must make mention that these are not something that he has been saying recently. These are chats from about 2006, 2007, 2008, right? And if you do remember, there was a time when obviously these players were part of this Real Madrid squad. And for him to say, firstly, that Raul is a fraud. I mean, Raul is top 3, the top goal scorers in Real Madrid history. So that doesn't qualify to me as a fraud. You look at Iker Casillas, for about 5 years or 6 years in a row, he was in the 5th Pro as a goalkeeper in the awards. So for me, that doesn't signal that this guy is a fraud or not a Real Madrid quality goalkeeper. So with Florentino Perez coming out and saying these things, he also mentioned a couple of things that happened, in the back room with Casillas as well. Making mention of the fact that he's not a dependable, a player. He once came into the dressing room, crying about his relationship with his girlfriend on the day of, El Clasico. And he says at that point, he stopped really depending on Iker Casillas. He stopped really depending or rather liking Casillas' girlfriend, because he says that Casillas is pretty much of a lapdog. And those type of things. I mean, how can he come out and say these type of things? So these were said in confidentiality with a certain journalist in Spain. And so what Florentino Perez is saying right now is that he's going to take that certain journalist and El Confidencial, which is the newspaper that released all these leaks, and he's going to sue them.
For what?
For what? Because it's what he said.
First of all, when you pick up the phone and you tell a journalist Ditawa, that's like going into your neighborhood and telling that lady what Kauno stands Spani. It's the same thing. It's the same thing. You don't just wake up and their job is to deliver the news, and you just give them. I think they were sitting on this. They were like, "It's too early. It's too soon. Let's just wait for this thing to simmer." And now I think it's the right time to release it.
Yeah. So what his point of view is when it comes to how these were released. He's saying that the journalist has been trying to sell these recordings for quite some time, but because right now Florentino Perez has been in the news because of the European Super League. Now it's the perfect time to add more fuel to this fire. It would be a perfect time to now make him the villain of football, which already a lot of us believe he is the villain of football. So I do think that at this point of time we are looking at a situation where
I like Perez.
I don't like Perez.
I like Perez. I love how Perez just comes out with these. I mean, first of all, let's think about this. Now, he came up with the Galacticos, signed Bofigo, Beckham. He signed everyone who was a big name in the world of football. So his statement to me is not outlandish. It's not crazy. I mean, at that time, he was used to signing big names. Yeah. And the problem with Raul and Casillas at the time was that these guys had contracts before the Galacticos kicked off. Yeah. So that the issue then it becomes that the contracts that he had with Figo, with Beckham, with all these big names, he couldn't now make with these players that he already had, because the moment he says to a player that's already existing that now I want rights to your name, what are you going to say? Why do you want rights to my name? Yeah. You understand? Because with Figo, as soon as you say I want rights to your name, and Figo says why, you tell him that, look, I'm about to sign you, you're about to be the biggest name in world football, I need to make some money from your name. You know what I mean? Because your name will be big just now.
So I like the point that you're just making right
Yeah.
there, because those are actually one of his points that he made in one of these recordings, right? He did come out and said that you're looking at Raul. He was using Raul. This was more when talk about Raul. He says you look at Raul, you look at Zidane, Beckham, and Luis Figo. Those three players, you know, they were brands. He was able to make money out of these players. And he's saying when you're looking at Raul, he's not a person who, you know, attracts media. You know, he's not a person who's followed too much.
He's
So
quiet.
he can't, you know, he even says he couldn't even sell, you know, Raul shirts. And I'm thinking to myself, this is a club legend. I mean, he came from your academy, you know,
He's
he
lying.
did, you know what I'm saying?
No way. Number 7, Raul shirts.
Yeah.
Can't sell those.
And I've seen a lot of those, to be honest.
lying.
I have really
Unless
seen
they were printed then Mitra and Deva Sports. But yeah, let's move on. Let's talk about the next thing on the list.
He also went on to talk about Cristiano Ronaldo, of course, and and in this context, he was talking about Ronaldo and Jose Mourinho, and he says Mendes, referring to Jorge Mendes, who is the agent for both Mourinho and Cristiano Ronaldo. He says Mendes does not order him, nor does he order Mourinho whatsoever. Zero. Not even for the interviews. These are guys with huge egos, both of them spoiled. He and the coach don't see the reality because the two could earn a lot more money if they were different. They are both abnormal because we are talking about a lot of money in image rights. Now, like you said, you know, this man is always thinking about, you know, how to coin, how to make the next coin, right? So his argument there was the fact that, you know, with Cristiano Ronaldo, of course, you know, you can't really control him in the press conference. He's talking about how Jorge Mendes can't really, you know, tell him what to say, nor can he tell Jose Mourinho. He's saying that they're not likable figures, and I beg to differ. I think Ronaldo, as much as there are a lot of Messi fans who don't like him, there's millions of other people who really follow what Cristiano Ronaldo does, and so does Mourinho. You might say that, you know, he was thrown out of Manchester United and all of those type of things. He's still the special one. He still does hold, you know, a special place to a lot of football fans. So I do think that you know, Perez was just out of order when we're saying all of these things over the past few years, and for them to be revealed now, I don't think it makes a big difference, because come to think of it, Casillas is now an advisor at Real Madrid. He's been an advisor since he retired from FC Porto. And you're looking at Raul. Raul has been the coach of Real Madrid Castilla for over 3 years now, since 2019. So these are players who are still, rather individuals who are part of Real Madrid as a setup, as a whole, at this present moment. And now they're walking into the office and hearing what has been said in the press about them and what Perez said. How is the mood going to be? There's a lot of hostility that I'm experiencing from Real Madrid at this point.
If I was Perez, I'd say Veiling Shield of it. Y'all didn't give me any image rights monies. Do you realize what Perez is fighting about? He's not fighting about the quality of the player on the pitch. He's not fighting about that. What he's fighting about is the fact that I could have made money from your image rights.
If you did this.
But you didn't let the image rights work. I mean, if you think about Jose Mourinho is the face of Top 11. He's the face of Sunderland and Mzansi for no reason.
Really?
Yeah. Haven't you seen the advert of confidence? You need confidence. You need to have goals. You have not seen that advert. That dude is making South African insurance money there, Prato. All Perez is saying is that I could have had some of that action. That's all Perez is saying. Like, these guys don't want to listen to me. I shall coach Real Madrid, but listen, give me your image rights. Let me make some money from your name. I'll push you in terms of the brands. You become the biggest thing in world football. I mean, think about it. Everything that has to do with coaching. I mean, Carlo Ancelotti is there. I mean, Jurgen Klopp is there. Pep is there. A lot of big name coaches are there. But none of them are making money from other things outside of football. Mourinho is the Ronaldo of coaches. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
People think Mourinho is brandable. I mean, if you look at the Champions League, when he was not coaching, he was the face of the Champions League. In those adverts, he was the one, you know what I mean? He is the face of coaching in football altogether. So what all Perez is crying about is the fact that if you guys just listen to me and gave me your image rights, and we could have made some serious money. And it's not something that's outlandish in the world of sports. I mean, we talked about it earlier on in the context of the WWE and what John Cena, The Rock, was saying about their former boss or their still current boss. And it's something that's there in football as well, you know what I mean? And it also started with Real Madrid early in the 2000s. But let's move on from that, Obino. Let's talk about the body of football in the world, talking about FIFA. What's happening with them? They want to bring in new changes.
Well, they are trying to implement new changes, and FIFA, there's currently a tournament taking place in the Netherlands, an under-19 tournament. And in this tournament, the rules have been, you know, slightly tweaked to be able to see if, you know, we can be able to use these at a professional level. And we do have a graphic of the rules that have been given out. And the first one at the top, it says 2 30-minute halves. So the game clock stops when the ball goes out. So no more 45 minutes a half. No more, you know, when there's an injury or the ball goes out and the ball's not in play, the time keeps moving. The time will stop when the ball is not in play, right? And then the second point says unlimited substitutes. This is not rolling subs, you know. I mean, we know a lot about rolling
Indoor
substitutes,
soccer.
you know, from indoor soccer. But this is unlimited subs. So if you have 7 players on the bench, you can bring all 7 players on, right? And then the next one is throw-ins played with feet. So obviously now it's no more going to be a throw-in. It's now going to be a kick-in, you know. And then the next rule says 5-minute suspensions for yellow cards. So it's just like the sin bin for rugby, right? And then you're looking at the last one. It says free kicks can be dribbled immediately. So you don't need to wait, put the ball still. You don't need the ball to be still. You just, you know, move on with the game. You know, just back and you go. So yeah, these are the proposed rules for the professional level. But for this current under-19 tournament taking place in the Netherlands, these are the rules that are applying at that level right now.
So a couple of months ago, I remember I mentioned this on the show where I talked about time wasting in football, and they were saying that the research shows that a lot of time is wasted in football with throw-ins, with free kicks, with penalties, with corner kicks. All those things steal so much time from football that actual football is only played for around 10 to 15 minutes in a 45-minute half game. So maybe they're trying to eliminate that. But the question is, how long is 30 minutes going to be every time we pause for those stoppages that they're trying to eliminate? And someone was saying that it would be a lot faster if we just kick the ball in for throw-ins, because now players are going to pick up a ball, is going to have it up here, you know what I mean? It's going to take a lot more time. But all these tactics are to reduce the amount of time that football is not being played. But because the biggest problem here is that clubs have realized, coaches have realized long ago that, look, football is not played on the pitch, it's played with the clock. If you get a goal early, I mean, the teams we know that get a goal early, they sit back, they let the other team have the ball, they'll play corners. We've even seen it go as far as a player going to the corner flag and just standing there to block the ball off. So that's what they're trying to eliminate. The question is, does it make sense, and why should it be implemented?
I don't think, look, football has been around for years and years and years, hundreds of years, right? And these rules have been, you know, the way they've been. And for that same amount of reason is why we love the game so much. You know, yes, you can bring in, you know, a couple of things to implement change on, you know, how the world looks at football, like the likes of VAR, the goal line technology, you know. That doesn't really affect, you know, the way the game is being played. Or to an extent, yes, it does. But it doesn't really change, you know, the rules of how the game is played. So I think with these type of things, like the throw-in, you know, being a kick, I think it's going to be a lot more time wasted, because firstly you need to position the ball. Now you need to get this player who's in front of you must move. Now you're looking for that pass up there, you know. So I think it's just going to waste a little bit more time more than saving time for me.
Before we take a break, I just want to say what Obi knows is saying is fact. Because you're trying to eliminate the free kick by dribbling from a free kick, but you're taking the free kick to the touchline by eliminating the throw-in, which doesn't make any sense. You're fixing a problem by creating a new problem.
And let's be honest, these rules, if you're looking at, you know, how they're trying to put them in, it seems like, you know, throw-ins are now being, what's been the problem with throw-ins? I mean, throw-ins aren't redundant. I mean, we've seen players who are known for throw-ins. Rory Delap from Stoke City was one who, you know, would throw in the ball from, you know, it looked like a corner kick, you know. And just this weekend, we're talking about the Cosafa Cup, how Senegal conceded 2 goals from a throw-in. So I don't think they're redundant. I do think that these rules do apply. Just if they don't apply to the likes of Lionel Messi or the big stars, now it should be redundant. I don't think that should be the case. I think rules should just remain as they are at the point.
Yeah, respect us. Let's take a break. When we come back, we'll be talking to people from the sports and spinal. We'll be talking to them about injuries, and in fact, we'll be talking to them about how long and how severe some injuries can be.
You are watching Super TV, Open View, channel 150.
How to register a new Supabets account. SMS Super TV to 30978 and you will receive an SMS with a sign-up link. Click the link you receive, which will direct you to the Supabets mobile site. Click login. On the pop-up, click register now. Fill in the required details on the form, from your ID number all the way to your contact details. Be sure to choose a strong password that you will remember. After filling in your details, click submit. In a few minutes, you should receive an OTP if your details were entered correctly. Back onto the Supabets mobile site, type in your OTP. In a few seconds, you will receive a welcome SMS confirming your new account. A 50 Rand sign-up bonus will reflect in your account within 24 hours of your sign-up. Welcome to our family. Supabets, bet with the biggest.
Vibra Don't be such a nuisance. Just SMS Super TV to 30978 and join in on the action.
You're locked into Super TV. Only on OpenView, channel 150.
Stay connected on supabets.co.za by SMSing Super TV to 30978. Super TV, Open View, channel 150.
Hello and welcome back to Mosports. Now, we did promise you yesterday that we'll have a special guest join us today. And her name is THABITHA, and she'll be talking to us about injuries. And not just that, she is a physiotherapist. And I've always wondered what a physiotherapist is and what they do. THABITHA, how are you doing?
Hi, Mo, and hi to the viewers at home.
All right, so please tell us more about your line of work. From what I understand, you're a physiotherapist for a sports team?
I'm a physiotherapist at Sports and Spinal Physiotherapy. It's a private practice, and what we do is we help manage injuries. And if I were in a sports team, then I'd be managing injuries and working closely with the coach to make sure that the athletes are compliant with the rehabilitation program given. So in my case, we see sports injuries and a variety of other injuries, not just sports related, but women's health, post-surgery, neuro, everything else.
All right, so with it being preseason right now, a lot of players are coming back from holiday, which means they're not fit. So are they prone to getting injuries, and how would you be advising a coach as to how to prevent injuries and how to deal with players that are injured? Wait, can you hear me? THABITHA?
Yeah, I can. Hello, yes, I
All
can
right.
hear you.
So I was asking, did you hear my question?
No, bits and pieces. Sorry, my connection's a bit bad.
All right, let me repeat the question. So now that it's preseason, how do you guys then advise coaches for players that are coming back from holiday? And also, how do you prevent injuries from happening?
Okay, so in cases like that, we usually just focus on strength and stability retraining, because a lot of injuries arise from lack of that. And what what I'd advise coaches to do during the season is to just monitor, like have kind of like a risk assessment program where they monitor how much training the athlete does individually and with the team, and so that they can see when an injury happens, so that way it's easy to gauge if it's an overuse injury and if it's an injury caused by another player. So just focusing on strength, stability, flexibility, and power does help reduce the rate of injury. Doesn't completely eliminate it, because we can't really eliminate injury. That's a bit difficult, but we can try and reduce the rate of occurrence.
All right, so let's talk about some of the most popular injuries. I know a lot of footballers always say they have something called an ankle sprain. Do you mind describing to us what that is?
Okay, so an ankle sprain is depending on how severe it is, but basically damage to the ligaments in the ankle. So ligaments are the connective tissue that help form the joint. They keep the bones together. So if tearing of those little fibers of those ligaments, that's what an ankle sprain is. And depending on how severe, if it's grade 1, then it's microscopic tears. If it's grade 2, it's partially torn. And if it's grade 3, it's completely torn. And in cases like that, it might need surgery.
So how long would a player be out with an ankle sprain? I mean, you named 3 different grades, so do you mind giving us a timeline for each?
So if it's like grade 1, I'd say 2 weeks. 2 weeks, that's fine, because then we're just worried about swelling and pain, but then that usually goes down. And then we focus more on just strengthening and making sure that ankle is stable enough. And then if it's grade 3, it could be longer, could be like 6 weeks or more than that. Grade 3 could go up to 3 months plus. It's also very dependent on the player and if there's any other associated injury. So if it's a grade 3 ankle sprain and it's accompanied by a stress fracture, so then it takes long. So usually with things like this, it's not just one thing, but they're usually accompanied by other injuries and other structures in the ankle.
All right, so let's move on to knee injuries. So what are the different types of knee injuries that we find?
So there are so many. So a knee injury is an injury to structures in the knee. And so it depends on which ligament or which structure in the knee. So it could be an ACL, PCL, MCL, LCL, or the meniscus. And in soccer, I'd say the most popular would be ACL sprains or meniscal tears. Those are the most popular ones that we find.
All right, so we know that there's a player called Van Dijk. Do you watch football? Do you watch English football?
You know what? I've seen a few games.
All right, so we have a picture of it on the screen. A player called Virgil van Dijk got injured and he got I think it was a knee injury, and he's been out for about 6 to 8 months. So when can a knee injury be considered to be fatal to a player's career? So once the injury takes place, he can't continue playing.
So for any injury to be career ending, it would have to depend on the player and how the rehab process goes. If an injury happens and then it keeps reoccurring, like for example, if it's an ACL tear, like in Virgil's case, he had an ACL tear and had to undergo surgery and then went for rehab for a few months. So reconstructing something like that, it can tear again 18 months after surgery. So if it keeps tearing and it like ends up kind of not disabling per se, but just limiting the athlete's ability to perform, that's when we consider an injury like career ending. But then there's always, like most of the time, especially elite players, they keep trying, they comply with the rehab. They want to get back on the field, so they try and listen, even though there is pressures from the coach and from everything else around it. But yeah, in his case, as far as I understand, he's still undergoing rehab, and he probably won't play a full game until they're 100% sure that it won't tear again.
All right, so let's talk about quad hamstrings and groin strains. So this could be like common injuries in the world of football. So the one I've heard of the most is hamstrings. Do you mind explaining to us what that is?
Okay, so the hamstring is the muscle behind your thigh, and it's a big group of muscles. It's 3 of them actually, and usually this one gets injured in high speed movements, and like jumping or sprinting or changing direction can injure the muscle. And also with this, it depends on how severe it is. There are different grades to it as well. With hamstring injuries, they have a very high rate of happening again. Like they are 5 to 7 times more likely to happen again. And so rehab is also very important there, and just getting it strong and flexible enough is very important, because it's with the high impact movements that's when it usually tears.
All right, so let's talk about the groin. Can a groin injury be so severe that it's career ending?
It can, if it involves other structures, not just the muscle. If a groin injury happens and let's say that muscle that's highlighted in the image tears and it takes a piece of bone with, like an avulsion fracture, that takes a long time to heal. And in that case, if the athlete just can't continue playing comfortably and at his or her level best, that can hinder them from playing ever again. Or if they do have an injury like that, but have the right kind of rehab and wait it out and just like strengthen and load it appropriately, then they can continue playing. So it's dependent on the player and on the rehab process.
All right, so let's talk about how long it will take. So how do players avoid such injuries like groins, hamstrings? How do you avoid those?
With the right conditioning during training, then you can avoid them, and training appropriately for the sport, and timing is everything. Working your way towards competition is very important, not just going head on full force from day one till the end, then you are more likely to be injured, but easing into it, focusing on the correct technique, optimal loading, plyometrics, just being agile enough to play as well. So it's the coach and the fitness team, they are the stars of this part, and making sure that the player is ready to be on the field and ready to take the high stress that it takes to play in a high level competition. So that's how you can avoid injuries. And again, assessing the potential risks to the player. It's important for coaches to know that, okay, this player has been injured before, so they are likely to be injured again. So this is how we're going to avoid it, by strengthening this specific part and focusing on this part of their injury during training. And also having the, like I mentioned, technique, having the right gear is very important. It's also quite a difficult thing because then off season players travel, they go overseas, they go to different areas with different climate, and then coming back and then training again, now changing the training program, changing your routine, that does put you at risk of injury. And so what you do off and on the field is important. What you do after you've been playing is also important to reduce your risk of injury.
All right, so can we talk now about dislocations? I mean, these are quite common in sports like rugby, where maybe your shoulder pops out of the socket and people around the pitch are like, let's just pop it back in and you'll be fine. So can you advise us more about those kind of things?
Okay, so with a shoulder dislocation, it can happen at different directions because the shoulder is the most mobile part of our body. And when that happens, I would advise that we don't pop it back in. Go straight to the emergency room, because we don't know what other structures are injured. So it could be that, yes, you dislocated your shoulder, but there could be damage to the nerves in the area, the blood vessels. There could be internal bleeding, damage to the bone. So trying to pop it back in on the field is a bit risky. It's always better to be in a hospital setting where they can assess it appropriately and check if there's any other structures that are injured before intervening. And sometimes it can be so severe that it needs surgery. So it's always better to be in the right setting.
So how long would this injury take to recover? I know that with shoulder injuries, we don't quite take them that lightly.
Yeah, so something like this could, depending on what other structures were injured, but then 6 to 12 weeks is like the standard time, but then it differs from person to person, and 6 to 12 weeks usually.
All right, so last thing I gotta know before I let you go, how do we first of all tell us more about what you guys offer in terms of sports and spinal?
So we see patients from all backgrounds, all sorts of injuries and pain. We have a lot of back pain, so back and neck. And we see we do postnatal, antenatal classes for women's health. We see sports injuries like the knee and the ankle and the hip, all sorts of sports injuries. And we also see neuro patients, so your stroke patients and your spinal cord injuries. Yeah, so that's kind of what we do.
And then most importantly, how do we get a hold of you guys if we need your services?
So we are based in Sandton City, Medical Muse. So at the mall, there's a medical center. We go to Medical Muse, Suite 104. And you can call us on 011-884-5302 to book your appointment. We're also on Instagram at sportsandspinal_physiotherapy, and on Facebook, Sports and Spinal Physiotherapy. look for the logo with the running man.
All right, just before I let you go now, how often do you guys have to do surgery if an injury, maybe to a dislocation or maybe a knee? Is it always a thing of if maybe I dislocated my shoulder, is it going to be surgery needed? Or like, just give me advice on that one because I'm scared. I don't like surgery.
So you don't always need surgery. It's very rare cases. It's only on very rare cases where they would say, okay, no, we're going to go in with under the knife. So it depends on how severe the injury is. Sometimes it can be treated conservatively. In fact, most of the times, a lot of injuries can be treated conservatively without surgery and just being assessed and making sure that you're not missing anything. And then you just be like rehabbed through exercise and conservative treatments like wearing a brace or being strapped and then doing your stability exercises with your physio.
All right, I'm coming through on Thursday. I just wanted to let you guys know. But for now, thank you for joining us here on Mosports, and thank you for all the information. We have learned a lot, and we will see you again next time when we have you back on the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Mo.
All right, cool. Let's take a break, and when we come back, well, I have to first go book my appointment, then Obi knows we'll come back and we'll talk all things football once again.
You are watching Super TV, Open View, channel 150.
You're locked into Super TV. Only on OpenView, channel 150.
Welcome back to Mosports. Now, if you're just joining us, you missed out on some epic chats about injuries. Now, it's a very good time for us to address the fact that I'm injured, boy. I need to go to the doctor, boy.
Oh, so you saw THABITHA, now you want to go to the doctor?
First of all, don't make it sound like that.
Oh, okay.
This is a sports show. It's not a lifestyle show. Yes. Okay? Yes. And yes, I do have an injury somewhere here in my posterior natal shoulder. No, not in my hamstring. No, that might be Obi's excuse to go.
Probably your groin, my boy.
That's you. That's you. You can go with your groin.
Nah.
Like, bombala. Ish.
Do you know, I realized, like, when she spoke about groins, and just looking at the severity of it by looking at those graphics that were up there, it shows me that, like, you know, we've been lied to by a lot of guys back in the hood. I'm fucking petty groin. Groin, you don't walk, my guy. Once you have a groin, you don't walk.
First of all, let's just say this. South African footballers were all bracket, in fact. So you don't know if their groin looks like that image, because that image was quite straight. Maybe he did mess up his groin, but the way Shapa bracket got thing, he can still, you know what I mean, he can still make the walk. can still make the walk. I'm also defending them like I also have a groin injury. Let's move on. Let's talk about the latest in the football news. Now, as you know, on Mondays here on Mosports, we take you through some of the biggest headlines in world football. And now we start off the conversation locally by looking at Cape Town City. Obi knows they've announced the signing of a new talented young man. Who is it?
Yeah, this guy, he was the most promising player coming out of the Nedbank Cup from Richards Bay United. And this is Kanyisa Mayo, a player who's been on the lips of many South African football watchers for a very long time. You know, he spent a lot of time in the MDC as well. You know, just unfortunate that he couldn't graduate into the Orlando Pirates setup. But he does find himself playing back in the PSL for Cape Town City. And of course, like we did say, same with Yusuf Mart. He had a chance, you know, at Orlando Pirates, didn't really graduate into the first team. And he went elsewhere to get himself some game time. And look how it's worked out for him. He's now playing or could be playing in the PSL. But Kanyisa Mayo is definitely signed with Cape Town City. And I think it's a positive sign from Cape Town City. The project that they're building at Cape Town City is really gaining an interest for me once again with Cape Town City. Because I do remember the first time that I knew about Cape Town City, when their first season, coached by Eric Tinkler, they had this vibe about them. There was something fresh about this club. You know, it was refreshing to see a team that was so well marketed, you know, and everything around the merchandising of the clothing, you know, all of these things, they all matched, and it looked like a club that was moving forward to a certain, you know, direction. So with this signing, I do think that it's pretty much on brand. This is a young player, age is on his side, brilliant technique with the left foot as well, peach of a player, as Mr. Karabo Pasha would say. So I do think that it's a brilliant signing from Cape Town City here.
All right, let's talk about Sfiso Ngobeni. Apparently, he's going back to Celtic.
So yeah, this is one of the articles I found on The Beautiful Game earlier on this morning, and it's obviously referring to the left back who was performing for Bafana Bafana this past weekend as well, also in the Cosafa Cup team. Sfiso Ngobeni, left back from Bloemfontein Celtic, signed with Mamelodi Sundowns, and after these Cosafa Cup tournaments, of course, the question will be, will Sundowns be loaning him back to Bloemfontein Celtic? Because that was the first initial plan, to loan him back to Bloem Celtic. So we don't know what Sundowns might decide to do. I mean, we've seen that a couple of times. They've converted players who weren't defenders to being, you know, certain left backs. I mean, you talk about the likes of Tebogo Langerman. He was a striker at this time at SuperSport United, went to Sundowns, was a left back. Obri Mudiba was a central attacking midfielder as well. He is now a left back at Mamelodi Sundowns. Lyle Lekay as well is one of those players who was not a natural left back. So in all essence, I think Sfiso Ngobeni is the natural left back in this team. But question will obviously be, will he be staying at Mamelodi Sundowns, or will Sundowns be letting him go back to Bloemfontein Celtic on a loan?
All right, so let's take it a little bit international. Enough with the local chats. Let's go to what's happening in Europe. Now, Lingatinho isn't just a game, is apparently linked with the West Ham again. Not for a loan this time. Last time it was a loan deal, but this time it's looking like a permanent move. So the question is Ole Gunnar Solskjaer willing to let him go?
Well, having heard what Ole Gunnar Solskjaer said after the game yesterday, they played against Derby County, he did say that Lingard is, actually he spoke to Lingard, and Lingard said that he is keen to staying and fighting for his place at Manchester United. And for me, that's a big question mark. I mean, he was on the sidelines for quite some time. They gave him a little bit of about 6 months to spend at West Ham United, or just a bit less. And, you know, he showed us exactly who or what he was supposed to be at Man United by this time. You know, I mean, he's a 28-year-old. He's no more player that, Man United are looking for, you know, as their youngster, although he might look like, you know, a 12-year-old. But he's still pretty much, you know, he's still about 28 years old. So I do think that this is the perfect time for him to be trying to find himself a club where he can be a mainstay in the team, where he can be able to participate. I mean, just look at the performances he gave for West Ham. It allowed him to be, you know, knocking on the doors of that English squad for the Euros. So I do think that he must reconsider this move. If he is indeed going to stay at Man United, I don't see him getting quite a lot of game time, especially with Jadon Sancho having moved to the club.
That's my thing. Who is he going to bench?
Exactly.
Who is he going to bench at Manchester United?
That's the big question.
Like Cavani is there, Bruno Fernandes is there, Sancho is there.
Martial is also there. You know, there's so many players in there who are ahead of him. You know, too many players.
Unless if you're keeping him for the FA Cup, but it's not something you want to use.
No.
I mean, at the age of 28,
yes.
At the age of 28, you're not trying to be an FA Cup player.
Yeah.
It's a big question. I mean, he went to West Ham and he flourished. I think maybe a move away from Old Trafford would be positive.
And you did say that you know, West Ham are pretty much considering you know, bringing him back. And you know, one of the things that have been said in the media is, what if West Ham United were to do a swap deal? You know, maybe you know, because a lot of people are saying that you know, Man United are just a Declan Rice away from winning the title. which is not, incredibly wrong, because I have been saying that they need someone in that midfield who will be able to stick around with McTominay, a very hard player. So I do think that, if it's possible, if it is on the cards, that maybe, Man United should be considering maybe, swapping Declan Rice, bringing Declan Rice in and letting, Lingardinho go the other way, and with some, of course, a bit of money coming on with that as well.
Well, we might see that if they don't get Varane, they might actually move McTominay into centre-back, because we saw him there for Scotland featuring there. But let's move on. Let's talk about Danny Ings, the man on the screen behind us. And he's not signing. He's saying, I want to move on. I want to go to greener pastures. And this might actually open up the door for Harry Kane to go elsewhere if maybe Danny Ings was to go to Tottenham Hotspurs.
Oh, bro, I don't know if that opens doors for Harry Kane. I think Tottenham Hotspurs indeed do need someone who can come off the bench and replace a Harry Kane, because they don't have that player. I mean, Vinicius is a player they just brought in last season, a big number 9. Of course, he wears the number 45, but he's a big number 9. And I do think that, they need someone who is just as agile as Harry Kane can be. They need someone who can be able to create chances for himself, out of nothing. And I think Danny Ings is the perfect match. But to say that he will replace Harry Kane at the club, I think, in the eyes of Daniel Levy, that's pretty much impossible at this point. I don't think that Danny Ings is the man that Levy will be thinking will replace Harry Kane. Maybe to deputize for Harry Kane, that could be an option, but I don't think this opens the door for Harry Kane to leave Tottenham Hotspurs.
All right, so let's take a break, and when we come back, we'll continue the news and see what's happening around the world of football. I mean, I'm shocked at the fact that Danny Ings is still not trying to sign a contract in this day and age, but let's take a break and we'll be right back.
You are watching Super TV, Open View, channel 150.
Winners know when to pull out. Just SMS Super TV to 30978 and practice your pull-out game.
You're locked into Super TV. Only on OpenView, channel 150.
Welcome back to Mosports. Now, if you're just joining us, you've missed out on a whole lot, but let's catch you up, because right now we're talking all things football news. Don't forget to SMS Super TV to 30978 so you can also join in on all these festivities that we got. If you've never met us before, I'm Mo, this is Obi Knows, and you can catch Mosports live or even later on by going to the following platforms. That's Facebook and on YouTube. Just search for Super TV, and once you find us, you can stream Mosports at your leisure, meaning that it's on a cell phone, a tablet, a laptop. You can even stream us on your smart TV. Pumago and Fete, anywhere, anytime. It's just a question of data, and everyone has data these days. Everybody has Wi-Fi. So let's move on. Obi, let's talk about the news. I mean, already covered what's happening with Danny Ings, but Demarai Gray.
He could be making his way back into the EPL. I mean, it was just the mid-season, last season, mid-season, when he made the move from Leicester City going to Bayer Leverkusen, and the move to Bayer Leverkusen, it sparked a thing in my brain when I thought to myself, I was like, if you're not doing well as a youngster in England, The better place to go, the best place
Germany.
to go is Germany, you know, and it's always been the case. And this young man, in his first game for Bayer Leverkusen, scored a goal, and ever since then, you know, eyes have been on him, and his performances he's been pretty decent for Bayer Leverkusen. And right now, we're hearing that Everton are interested, and we know who's interested when we talk about Everton is Rafa Benitez. Rafa Benitez is very interested in bringing in Demarai Gray to sort out, because we did say that Richarlison might be going to Real Madrid, which is a big might. He might be going there, so this could be his replacement.
So what do you think the Perez is going to say about Richarlison when Richarlison arrives? You think there's going to be like a leak a decade from now and he's just like, I don't know why they signed that guy. That guy's pop.
Yeah,
after hearing those articles, I really wonder what he said about Vinicius, what he's saying about Karim, what he's saying about all these guys. I mean, some of these guys, we look at them. I mean, I look at them. Higuain. Imagine what he says about Higuain.
Yeah, and I'm sure he has a lot to say about
He has a lot to say about Higuain.
But I think he really loves. If there's anyone he loves,
It's Benzema.
yes.
But
Really has to.
does he have a choice?
He's the most brandable one at this point at Real Madrid.
No, Ramos was. Ramos was the most brandable, but he's gone now. But thinking about it now, Modric is short. He's not the one.
There's no
Toni
models
Kroos is
in
quiet.
there, my guy.
Like, you know what he should do?
My guy.
He should have signed Neymar. It would have made some serious money.
So you
I'm
saying?
yeah.
You saying that Ramos is more brandable than
First
Karim?
of all, let me explain to you.
Wait.
Boy. Let me explain
Okay,
to you.
I'll save my shot for late. Let me just
Okay.
remember my card.
Okay, no, hit you short. Let's say.
Nah, bro. You said you
No,
want to
but
go
hold
first.
on.
You said you want to go
First
first.
of all, we're talking about the highest scoring defender of all time.
Yeah.
We're talking about Mr. 3 Champions League titles
Yeah.
as captain, one as a player,
Wait, I'm ready. That's my card.
World Cup and Euro winner, two Euros even. And first of all, it's Sergio Ramos, boy.
Okay. Sergio Ramos Chola Rihanna.
Okay.
My boy.
But first of all,
What's my name?
But first of all-
What's
first of all,
within? My boy
you
Karim.
come here with the weakest chance because Rihanna has won every jersey in world football.
What do you mean?
Neymar has been
Where's the proof?
She's probably walking out with a Supabets shirt somewhere there in LA, boy. Because Mo was there. You know what I mean? You can't be telling me about such things, boy.
Boy, he's
That's
brandable.
fucked, dog.
Boy, he's brandable.
No, he's not brandable.
He is
boy. He's not brandable. Boy.
Karim Benzema.
Neymar.
Karim
Neymar
We're
had.
talking about Real Madrid, or we're talking
hold
about
on.
Neymar?
Neymar had braids just now. He was a meme. There was a whole mob on top of his head.
Yo, that was a meme. What is he doing? What's Neymar doing?
Benzema's
All I'm
podcast.
no, there's no ways, bro. Benzema.
What is it? What?
He's
Okay.
a brand.
Name one international trophy that Benzema has won.
That's not what makes a brand. This guy.
Just low blow. Just remind him
That's
that
not- that's
even
not what
France
makes
was
a
like,
brand.
who's this guy? Put him aside. Chiru Hozala. My boy, you don't understand if Chiru performs this season. He's a striker that's going to the World Cup. Benzema is problem.
We'll see. But Giroud first needs to get ahead of Zlatan there. That
First
side.
of all, Zlatan's going
We'll
to get
see.
injured now.
Oh, we'll see.
Don't come here.
They're pretty much the same age, so we'll have to wait and see
Okay,
what
sharp.
happens.
Let's carry on. Let's go to somewhere else. So right now, there's still no news from Liverpool in terms of their new signing. So Obi knows you wanted to share some thoughts because Alisson's contract has been extended, but Liverpool have only signed Konate and they haven't done anything else.
Yeah. You know, the only contract they signed so far is Konate, and the increase of Alisson. You know, his contract could be going up until 2026, which I do think that it's a positive signing. Of course, I mean, we don't want to lose one of the best goalkeepers in the world. You know,
If not the.
if not the best goalkeeper in the world. You know, so I think Liverpool really need to dig deep. I mean, like at this point, we're looking at the signings that. Excuse me. We look at the signings that Man United are making. You know, they're making some very positive signings, bringing in Jadon Sancho's, bringing in Rafael Varane. So they're really trying to shore up their thing at the back end going forward. You know, so with Liverpool, with the fragilities we saw last season, we saw that if there's a couple of injuries at the back, it's a big problem. Of course, we brought in Konate. You know, Konate is there. He's a good centre back. You know, he's got a lot of quality experience in the Champions League as well. But going forward, I do think that especially with that front three and that midfield, maybe we need someone who can be able to create from in the third half of the field, because you do have Thiago in there, but he's much better, you know, dictating from deep.
Just a second. Before he carries on, I'd just like us to go to the next news point. And we'll come back to this one. Let's talk about. You said what the third phase of play?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Let's talk about Tammy Abraham. Do you think he should go to Arsenal?
I think he should.
All right, fine. That's that article we're done with.
What do
Tammy
you
Abraham.
mean? We're not
No,
done
we're
with
done
Tammy
with this guy. But he must just go to Arsenal. That's the whole chat.
Tammy Abraham, for me.
Yeah.
Like I've been saying.
Have you heard this guy's full name?
Last season. I just know that he's from Nigeria. That's all I
Okay,
know, right? So my boy here, I saw him in the season when Frank Lampard was coaching Derby County. And that's the season where they almost gained promotion to the Premier League, the season before they came to Chelsea altogether. The first game they played was against Man United, and they lost 5-0 at Old Trafford. But this man's performance on that day, it gave me the thought that this guy is a 20-goal per season striker. His movement of the ball, his control when he has the ball on his feet, the ability to find space in a very congested area. I think Tammy Abraham is overlooked too much. And I do think that Frank Lampard was the one who could have got the best out of him, right? Unfortunately now with Thomas Tuchel at the club, it doesn't look like he has a lot of game time, coming through. So I do think that maybe moving to Arsenal, a team that is in need of a striker, they are trying to let go of Lacazette. They are trying to let go of the likes of Edin Ketia as well. So I do think they need a striking option. And why not go with Tammy Abraham? It might be on the costly side because it's coming from Chelsea, but nonetheless, it would still be a positive move from Arsenal.
This is why we say Obino is a sports analyst. Now, you said the third half. A player that can create goals in the third half of play at Liverpool.
Yeah.
All right. When did that problem start? When did Liverpool start having a deficiency with creating goals from that point?
When Coutinho left.
When they sold Coutinho. Now, my chat is this, Buffett. You guys remember Philippe Coutinho. If you don't remember him, it's this guy over here. Look at it. Look at it. You guys remember this guy. Now, this guy, at this point in time, Barcelona's like, Asim Food, he's too expensive. He's costing us everything. He needs to go. So, we know, in a minute, you just motivated that we need a player that can do what this guy did and does. The question is, why doesn't Liverpool just go back and say, hey, Wafet, we made a mistake selling you this guy? What was that like?
We didn't make a mistake selling him.
We made a big mistake selling him.
No, we didn't.
Okay, we won trophies, but the fact of the matter is, but also, how do we not know that Bruce Kobler is the one who won us those trophies? Due to recent events.
See, there's too many conspiracies. There's too many conspiracies.
But the question is, we only have a minute. Should this man come back home? Yes or no?
Who's home?
Anfield. Should you go back to Anfield?
Home is there at the Maracanã in Brazil.
Okay, fine. But
That's
should you go back to Anfield now? Yes or no?
We need someone else.
You know who's someone else?
Someone else who is fresh. I mean,
who's that?
Remember when Coutinho first came, how young he was?
Yeah.
We need something like that.
Who's that?
Whoever can come in, bro, and shake things up, dog. Whoever can shake things up.
All right, now let's end the show there. Let's just say that we learned something important today from a Liverpool fan is that this Coutinho peep is not clapped. They're still touched. They're still touched. They don't want to let him come back because they touched about how he left and had the whole drama.
Should have had a statue.
Should have had a
He would have had a statue.
If he comes back, do you not think he gets a statue?
I think the quality is gone. He's no more that intense of a player to go into a Liverpool squad and prove himself. I could be wrong. I could be completely wrong. But where I'm standing right now, it didn't work out at Bayern. It didn't work out at Barcelona. What makes us think that with the intensity that Liverpool train at and play at, it will work out for him then?
All right, on that note, let's end the show. Thank you for joining us here on Mosports. We are not here tomorrow, but we'll be here on Wednesday. Make sure to catch us from 1 to 2 p.m. here on Super TV, powered by Supabets.
You are watching Super TV, Open View, channel 150.
Supabets introduces Habanero Instant Games featuring hot fruit. Get online, choose the amount you want to bet, hit the play button, and spin to win. It's that easy. You could win up to 2 million rand instantly. Visit the Supabets website, register or log in, and play our Habanero Instant Games. Bet with the biggest.